sure it's reshuffled. So those are tiring times and hard times. Also in that process, I had another smaller product company also. I had a seed round funding and a product company. And the best thing I did is I did not give up my original service company. I was very tempted to give it up and become this big product company, which everybody wants to do a product. Nobody wants to have a services side. So, but now look at it, Raj, today we are doing big data.
Yes.
We are doing IoT, Internet of Things, which sends all the, so there is so much scope for these folks. Big data, focus on big data, focus on IoT, cloud, and make a business out of it. Make a business out of it.
So the key was lots of calls, and then once you get a customer, go and solve the problem.
Net. Throw the net.
Throw the net.
Face-to-face meeting, very critical. You cannot just, the phone call is to get you the face meeting. Afterwards, now the game starts. My friend is nodding his head, he knows. He's a big time sales guy.
Okay, so moving on to, I think he already did it, which is demand creation. So basically, like, most people will never tell you that they have a need. You go and tell them, do you have a need? And they say, what need? I don't have any need. I'm well taken care of. I've got everything. So need is not something that is that people are just going to share with you. So the need is something that you have to create a vision for that, for a solution somewhere. So let me first start off with an example. So I was once, as a part of my IPO roadshow, I was flying back from Paris to San Francisco. And when you're doing a roadshow, they fly you first class. So I was flying first class from Paris to non-stop to San Francisco. And, so great, luxurious seat and everything. And then another guy, sits down right next to me. And then I'm trying to see what's he doing. And then he pulls out a whole bunch of documents. And they say LVMH. So Louis Vuitton, Mo Tennessee. So, and then I find out that, and when I kind of looked over and see what document he was reading, at the bottom it said that the president of Louis Vuitton was sitting right next to me. And I had him sitting next to me for the next 15 hours. And as an entrepreneur, you think I cannot let that chance go. And the Louis Vuitton, which is the world's #1 luxury products company, is sitting next to me for 15 hours. The decision maker, the buyer, the guy who can write the check, everything was sitting right next to me, And for 15 hours I had it. So, this is with Selectica when I was doing Selectica. So I had the configuration product. So, we had a lunch, dinner and all that. So, and then before I could even start the conversation, the guy just, puts all his books away and, falls asleep. I said, oh God, what am I going to do now? How can you sell something to somebody who's sleeping? How can you create a vision if somebody's sleeping? How can you create demand if somebody's sleeping? And I said, oh, okay. So I, decided that I had to sleep also. So I also, stretched out, using that. Okay. I think, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
You can hear me, right? So anyway, so I said, I'll speak up a little bit. So I said, let me also take a slight sleep, but so I slept for the next 4 or 5 hours, but with one eye open. So I was sleeping, watching my guy next to me and seeing whether what he's doing. So after about 4 or 5 hours, he stretches, he wakes up, he orders some tea or coffee. So I also stretch up and wake up and say, can I have some tea or coffee also? And then, I, pulled out my prospectus and started looking at it. And I said, what does your company do? And, even though I knew it was LVMH and all that. So we just started the conversation. And I said, oh, LVMH, you guys, sell these luxury products, etc. And you've got this DFH, which is the duty-free shops all over, and you've got all of this stuff. And we said, like, the whole, and I said, I think the whole world is changing. How people are going to buy products in the future, don't you think so? So you've got to ask these question-oriented, statements, right? Isn't the world changing? And we said, yes, it looks like people are now looking at the internet more. They're trying to figure out which perfume to buy on the internet before they buy anything. And so the world is changing. So I said, we actually work with some companies that, also are kind of becoming leaders just because they've mastered the art of selling on the internet. So he said, which companies? So I said, Dell Computers, Samsung, Cisco, all of these companies have mastered and are becoming very successful because, they know how to sell on the internet. They've got a very user-friendly way of connecting, and it gives them lots of recommendations, and, it just provides such a... And he said, do you know how it's done? Of course. So I said that, that's actually what we do. We provide the configuration engine that, all these big companies, John Chambers is talking about how the internet is changing the world, but it's really our software, our configuration engine that is helping them, sell their products on the internet. Dell, they're the number one for online selling computers. And so I started, showing that, we were actually the engine that was supporting the online. So created the vision that luxury goods in the future are going to be sold via the internet, and that, to create that shopping experience that user-friendly needs, automatic needs identification and recommendation, etc. My configuration engine is the one that is really doing it for all these other famous companies. And so the short of it is that by the time he landed, he was so excited that he had found, the right solution for getting LVMH into the online business, that he called his company's CIO and said, go ahead and call Selectica and give them a purchase order for $4 million. Wow. So the CIO is saying, who's the Selectica? Why should I give $4 million purchase order? And I told my salespeople, call on the CIO and get that $4 million purchase order right now. So we basically did this thing called demand creation, and we got a $4 million order because I had the person who could see the vision, who could do something with the vision, write a check for $4 million, and the whole transaction was done, just on one flight,
And the first class fare was well paid for.
No, because that's kind of a classic of, that I feel, is what selling is all about, because, once you've mastered kind of selling, if I had gone out and said, talk about, configuration and, artificial intelligence and rules engine, you think it would have had any effect? He would have gone to sleep again. See, you don't want to put your customer to sleep. You want to get him excited about the things that he's concerned about. Right? So I had to basically sell what he wanted to solve. But I first create the fact that I don't know if, women 10 years ago, I think smartphone only just now came out. I think most women probably may or may not go to a laptop or PC, 10 years ago. But now they, of course, do it. So the vision was correct. But the point is that, I have to convert that vision into a sale. Otherwise, if the CIO had got involved into it, created a competitive comparison between my solution and everybody, got his web designers to figure out whether we are the right platform or the wrong platform, that would have been like a 6-month process, 1-year process, and maybe somebody else would have got the order. Or they may have decided to develop the whole solution in-house. I mean, 101 things can go wrong. But when you can go ahead and find an opportunity to sell at an executive level, then you're going to sell something that, results in the executive hitting his target, which is changing how LVMH brand will be perceived in the online world. Right? So that was the big enough vision change that I had to get him to understand and then convert that vision into a sale for my product. Right? And that was a very important sale because, remember, my total sales the year before was $10 million. And one sale, I got $4 million order at one shot. Right? So basically, all kinds of things happen. Now, as an entrepreneur, you guys are going to also make these big sales when you raise your first, 5 crore rupees or $1 million or $10 million when you do your, first round of funding or second round of funding. You are also going to transact these kind of numbers, but you will have to create the vision in your investor's head. You have the vision, but can you transport your vision so that it becomes his vision also? When that happens, then the magic happens. Right now, you've got your partner, you've got your money, he's as committed to making you successful, together you're going to build a company. So, as an entrepreneur, you have to learn all the skills needed to take you to, executive level selling. Because if you get that opportunity and you're not good at executive selling, most people would have said, nice seat, let's just sleep for 15 hours. But, the whole idea is, as an entrepreneur, see an opportunity, convert it into success. Anything to add to this one?
Just one thing added to your comments are selling, as I'm thinking, selling, a disruptive change has happened in selling. So, Google Store, any one of you today can be an entrepreneur. You know what your needs are, what your fellow student needs are, your fellow citizen needs are. If you can come up with an app which is business-minded, I'm sure you can find your friends from computer science who can write an Objective-C code and create an application. How easy it is for you to put that on a Google Store. It's very easy, we have done it, No, I'm not saying Apple Store, okay? No Apple Store. Only Google Store. So, it's very easy, right? You don't have to sell. You don't have to sell there. That's the only place. You don't have to pick up the call. Your product, your app has to be so good that demand generation, everything, it starts growing. Okay? Viral. And it kind of hits your numbers. You hit 299 cents, put it out there, and all of a sudden you say, man, I got 1,000 people. Next, another 1,000 people. So that's another way that you can become an entrepreneur right away.
I think I would just make a request to both of you, since we have got a customer also present, would like to have his point of view. When sale is made to a customer, how does the customer look at it?
Would you like to make some comments?
Would you make something?
Yeah.
When people come to sell to you, how do you face it? How do you go through that? You can come here.
No. So yeah, there are many discussion, many point here, but I like to mention about you need to understand the customer needs
Yeah.
from the customer pain point, and then you need to define what's so today you just talk about how to become an entrepreneur. So there are many ways, many channels. So I like to talk about from channel standpoint. So today we had before this lecture we discussed about marketplace. So today when you talk about marketplace, there are many different ways. So within the smartphone, 5-inch smartphone, can be my marketplace. I can I can get PO. I can make a purchase. This is my marketplace. Also there is a physical store out there, Apple store, some stores there. So there is that's another way to deliver my selling benefit to my customer. So depends on customer needs. So you need to find out what is the best way to deliver your benefit to your customer. So that's the only thing I like to share today's lecture.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think there are two announcements we want to make. One is, I think Adil has very kindly agreed, I think very generous in saying this, that if any one of you want to do anything on big data, Adil would welcome that and he could help you in your ideas or in your possible project. And second is, I think any question answers we will be taking.
Yeah, so I think the rest of the slides on selling, we'll be doing over the next 2 sessions. But let's open it up for 2 or 3 questions before we move on. Any questions for Adil or myself on selling?
Come on guys, hard ones.
Yeah.
Guys and
Yeah,
gals.
please come.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
So you told about talking to decision makers, like how you met a CEO when you were in a flight,
Yes.
or having him beside you for so many hours.
Yes.
Like when we are starting up a company, we ourselves are, let alone a first class flight, maybe an economy would be a very big luxury for us at the moment. And that's just an example. The point I want to make is that how do we, get to these people? People who are actually decision makers might not take us very seriously. As you mentioned, we make 100 calls and maybe only 10 or 15 actually respond to us. So how should we make sure that how to get these numbers higher?
How to reach the
How to
executive
reach us
and the
in a
decision
better way?
maker? Why don't you?
So for that, again, who's your audience? Who's a decision maker? Say IT manager, okay? So you can get a list of all the IT managers available. You have to buy it. So IT managers, IT manager. Once you buy that list, you start calling them, right? So if you don't want to call, there are agencies, certain companies who will do automatic dialer and call. But your job is to get an appointment. So out of that 100 fish net, again, you throw a fish net and you have to call those guys or have somebody call them. Did I answer your question?
So this is
when we are throwing the fish net, we have to be sure that, okay, this is a region where there is good fish.
Possibility.
That is what I'm trying to talk about. Okay, I know there are 100 fish in the pond, but there will be certain regions within the pond where there would be probably a higher cluster, a better chance we might have.
completely.
Like how to channel ourselves to get to that higher.
Yeah, so a couple of things to know, okay, which is that it's very important to be efficient in your marketing and sales. It's very easy to get spread so thin that nothing happens, right? Now, if you look at it, there are going to be many opportunities if you keep your eyes open. For example, if you're interested in, say, venture capital funding because you got a good idea, and you say, hey, there are no VCs at IIT Bombay, there are only professors. So how are you going to get funded, right? But guess what? There is this event happening on 31st of January. It's going to be at least about 10 or 15 venture capitalists who are going to be here for between 4 to 8 hours. They are even going to be on the podium, etc. And so, as an entrepreneur, if you've got your ideas, etc., and you've got something that is of significant high impact value, you've got to go prepared to connect with these people. And you connect with high-level people in two ways. One is telesales, as you said. But in my opinion, that's a very resource intensive. It's not what a hunter does. A hunter goes ahead and targets. He says, okay, it's just going to be 1 or 2 or 3 out of these 1,000 people or 10,000 people who come for this ESA conference that I'm going to target, right? And you go ahead and you prepare your material, you try to get an introduction to Kusre, myself, somebody else, or some other company that has been funded by him. You go to that entrepreneur. So there are so many, every human being has got a big network of connections. And as an entrepreneur, you have to figure out how to get to whichever network node you can in order to get there. So you want to go into this hunting mode. Hunting, it's called rifle shooting, and that kind of stuff. Okay?
Just to share with you actual case, we have got a company I signed called Sensibor, which into the audio engineering board. So they have been here with us for some time, but we have sent them to UC Berkeley, and they are spending 1 week there, followed by 2 weeks in Silicon Valley. And Raj is going to talk to some of his friends, and we have sent them for 1 week at UC Berkeley's accelerator program. So it's all possible. It depends what idea you have got. Is there a potential for that? And do we think it can be done? Yes, we can do it. Yeah. I also written here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Louder.
I can quickly relate to what you just told that you selling to investors, to employees and everything. But the problem which I am right now facing is when I go to sell to a school or a principal or some director or a trustee of a school, I don't look old enough. I look young, and they have this trust and reliability issue. So this is the biggest challenge I'm facing.
So that is a challenge that all entrepreneurs face, which is credibility. The credibility gap between how many years you've been in business. So example, when we walked into any company to sell Selectica product, Opti product, Dyno product, whatever, how long have you been in business? First question, right? So you have to take that and turn it around and solve, right? So basically, in your particular case, what is more important is to figure out how to get somebody else's credibility to work with you. So, for example, if you went with an introduction to the trustee from somebody who was senior, that became a mentor to you, became an part of your advisory group or an investor to you. If he did the introduction, or if he came with you into the meeting, even though he doesn't say anything, he just comes there for credibility reasons. So I've done all of that kind of stuff where, you have to figure out how to make yourself credible. For example, we said that we got the BMW deal. This deal we had to get in Germany. This was my first customer for Selectica, and the customer was German in BMW. You know how big BMW is. And, but BMW and And being German, for them, technology is number one. See, for other company, other decision makers, you know, technology is important but not that important. They also want, you know, support and maintenance and reputation and all kind of stuff. So we found the CIO for whom technology was very important. And then what we did is, when we walked into the meeting, I got my partner, who was the AI guru, to print out all the technical papers that he had ever written. And we had this big a pile of technical papers and patents that he had got from Xerox PARC. And we printed all of them, made 3 copies of them, and we walked into the Munich office with this much documentation, showing the credibility, technical credibility of what. So we used to call it thud marketing. We dropped the credibility of thud on their desk. You know. But we basically, just by doing that, we were not a small company anymore. A small bunch of 5 or 6 engineers cannot do this kind of research and put it there. So, you know, our CTO, because he had worked at Xerox PARC for 10 years, he used to use conference talks, etc. We walked in and used that to establish our credibility. So there's many different, everybody has to think of something creative to get over the credibility back. Because once you start speaking and they get involved with you solving their needs, credibility is out of the way. Nobody talks about it.
I think there are 2 questions here.
What, just to follow up on your thing is, you know, make a pilot project. Say if somebody is asking for a credit
Excellent.
Yeah.
make a pilot project. Go to your high school, okay, and convince them. You can convince them, your high school, you know, that this works. Now you have already established credibility, and now you can tell your other customers who are naysayers, they have already done this. Look, it works. And you get it. So that's the fighting spirit you need to have.
Reference. You create a
I
reference.
think in the
system.
first instance, when you are really starting, there are 2 questions you will be asked. That who do you know? That is, are there people you know who can help you? And most important, more than that, who knows you? Are there important people who can really recommend you? Maybe now that you are in the current situation, some of the entrepreneurs who have already passed out through this institute, you can approach them, they could give you some reference, as Raj is saying. So that it's not easy, it's going to be tough. But this is what you need to work on. That either you have to know someone, or more importantly, someone should say that yes, I know Raj or I know Adil and they can do it. So that's your starting point. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And thank you for our guests.